Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today let's go over the market and let's talk about what has happened, a fresh start to a fresh week. So let's just get this started. I'm a little bit out of breath. I just came back from the gym today. It was cardio day, so I'm a little bit tired, but yeah, definitely want to record this video sooner than later. So yeah, let's just get it started. If you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. And as usual, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. This is, make your own decisions, do your own research, all that good stuff. But all that being said and done, moving into a Tesla, ending the day down pretty much exactly 2%, which puts us at $193.82. Compared to the market, definitely a pretty severe underperformance for Tesla. Again, maybe not severe, but definitely an underperformance. The market is essentially ending more or less flat, very slightly green, but nothing too major as well. And the market, of course, also giving up the majority of its gains throughout the day, pretty much ending at the lows of the day almost with a very ugly looking hammer red, more specifically hammer candle after two massive green days. So let's just go over it, guys. Not looking great for the market, which could mean bad things for Tesla. So we'll see, of course, you never really know. But moving into it, Tesla. So I added one extra thing that you can argue that Tesla is in. Now, I personally think this is a bit of a stretch, but these two blue lines that I added, the ones going kind of down rightish, if you will, like kind of the bull flaggy two blue lines right here. This looks like a this looks like a clusterfuck. I'm not gonna lie, but you can argue this is kind of a bull flag, right? You can definitely make an argument, like a pretty plausible argument, that this is essentially more or less a massive bull flag that Tesla is in. Now, keep in mind, bull flags doesn't mean it has a result to the upside, right? It just means that it's a bull flag. That's literally all it means. It doesn't mean that it has to bounce into it and then move, to the upside again. Of course, there is confirmation if it breaks above, for instance, this blue line again, which essentially if it can go back above like maybe 205, let's say, you can argue that it is breaking out the bull flag and that is bullish. But up until then, it is technically, in my opinion, definitely more bearish than bullish. But at the same time, I would also argue that this bull flag is a little bit of a stretch, mainly because the top side of it is fine, but this bottom line is just very wonky. It's just not the most, convincing line in the entire world. Let's just say that, right? It's going through way too many things and it's just kind of like mediocre. So just thought I'd mention that. I personally wouldn't put too much weight into it, but, it is something to still, I guess, consider. But yeah, so, today, we pretty much went up more or less. So actually, I'm going to remove this for now, right? So I'm going to mainly focus on these two blue lines, which we talked about before, that we were in this little, little wedge, if you will. We broke down out of it, right? We talked about this last week. We broke down out of it. Pretty much the bears had like an absolutely golden opportunity here to really see some nasty follow through to the downside, but the bears kind of fumbled it and the bulls stepped in where it mattered most, because this was essentially, in my opinion, right here, this 185 bounce that we had, I think it was on Thursday, was essentially the last line of defense. In all honesty, like this had to hold for the bulls to even remotely have any chance to still, have something up here play out, and it did, right? But all it did, we did talk about this as well, is when this held, and on Thursday's close, we talked about how, I can definitely see Tesla coming up to about 197 to 200, even as high as, to retest essentially this breakdown that we had and most likely get rejected at 200. So far, that is literally what is playing out. That is absolutely picture perfect that we discussed on Thursday, absolutely played out on Friday and including today as well. So far, we did come up to that 197 to 200 level. We did get rejected. We did retest this breakdown, unfortunately for the bulls, successfully, which is not what the bulls want to see. They wanted to see this, get reclaimed, if you will. And so far, we're definitely showing weakness. And the fact that the market itself is also showing some, decent weakness right here with just pretty nasty looking candle closures on the QQQ and the SPY. Moving into tomorrow with Jerome Powell testifying, which is essentially, the way I view it, is it's like a mini FOMC, if you will, right? Where Jerome Powell just essentially talks about inflation and like he talks about it and talks about, what everyone on the board essentially more or less thinks, right? It's like a mini FOMC, the way I look at it. It could be bad, right? You never really know. But after these two massive rallies, having this kind of candle after rallies like this is definitely not a good sign for the market. And this is definitely a pretty convincing sign of a potential reversal coming up. Doesn't mean this has to just completely and utterly crash. It can, but it does mean that this most likely will be a somewhat top sign, at least for now, which of course can impact Tesla negatively and make Tesla go down further from here, which was going to be interesting to see what happens. So personally, I would not be shocked if at the very least we come down to this 190 level to pretty much gap fill, minimum, in my opinion. Like I would definitely expect that. I'll be pretty surprised if we at the very least do not get that. However, with that being said, it also wouldn't completely shock me if we come down maybe one more time to this 185-ish level. And this is where things will get interesting. If we do come down, let's say maybe tomorrow or something like that, maybe Wednesday, to this level over here. What is going on, man? To this level right here one more time, this will be like a pretty interesting battle to witness, right? Mainly because, again, this right here, this level is exceptionally important. Like this is pretty much the last line of defense. This is like truly thin ice for bulls, and the bulls, like without question, they have to defend this level. Like 190 is already pretty important, but especially this kind of like 185-ish level, because if this breaks, and especially if like 180 down here breaks, like this, pretty much this like really kind of thick line that I have here, this little like this whole area of, in theory, in this case, demand potentially, has to hold. Like this right here, this whole area is the last line of defense. And if this area breaks, I will be pretty much, it will be almost guaranteed that we are coming down to around, the levels down here I talked about before, right? 160 to as low as even 145-ish. Like it would pretty much be guaranteed, in my opinion, at that point. So if this a general area ever breaks, especially like 185, this could really start the true weakness. And this 180 level will be like pretty much just, it's confirmed, it's over, it's happening, brace yourselves essentially. So that's the way I look at it. That's the way I'm personally viewing it right now. Again, it doesn't mean that there is absolute signs of, bearish indicators or absolute signs of even bullish indicators. In all honesty, if we bring up that Bollinger Band once again, you can see it is getting quite tight. Like, man, if you compare it rather to previous instances where it got this tight, it doesn't happen very often where it gets this tight, but more specifically, it stays this tight, right? For instance, we can come back over here. You can see back when we were like pretty much at the lows, it got pretty tight. Arguably even, this is actually arguably tighter than this, but nonetheless, it got pretty tight over here. But you can see it, like it only lasted for like maybe a few days, and then it exploded once again, right? Same thing over here. It got pretty tight and then didn't last for very long. This was pretty damn tight right here. Like, this got extremely tight, didn't last for very long, literally lasted for like maybe a week at most. Then that's it, the big move finally happened, right? Same thing over here. This one actually lasted for a surprisingly long time. This was the tightest part right here, but even this only lasted for like maybe a week of trading, right? And then it kind of exploded a little bit, then it got tight a tiny bit, and then it really truly exploded. This is probably the longest period of time in the recent memories that it got this tight for this long, right? But then you can see the move was pretty decent to the upside, right? From this tightness, if you compare it from like the middle-ish, like the average level of this tightness, which was somewhere around here, to the top level, 30% move, 33% move to the upside, right? But the point I'm trying to make is the fact that in recent trading times for Tesla, when it does get this tight, it doesn't last very long, and usually a big move is followed up with, essentially, right? So that's essentially what I'm personally waiting for, and I'm being patient with. I did enter one more bullish position, but essentially my bullish positions aren't like that bullish. I'm just essentially selling calls, right? So, or in other words, like I'll be pretty much buying shares of Tesla at 180 and lower, right? At the moment I have 180, like 177, and I think those are the main ones. I think at 180 and 177 are the two main sold puts I have. So essentially I'll be buying some shares there, but I have a lot more puts to sell if and when, let's say, we finally do make our way down, which I'm personally quite excited for, of course. If we don't, then that'll be, it is what it is. I'll make money on those trades right there, but we'll see. But other than that, on top of that, right, we still have this, the bearish divergence is still not looking that great, right? In terms of I mean, it is looking great. It's not looking great for the bulls, I meant to say, right? It's still not showing too much signs of life. Tesla's really showing some weakness. The market's showing some weakness. And it's just really not looking good, guys. It's really not looking good. Now, again, I don't want to make it sound like it's over. It's going to fall for sure. Again, I gave you guys the confirmations that I'm personally waiting for, right? For the most part, if you really want to think about it, the easiest way to think about it is the fact that we are trading in a congestion still, right? Like this one kind of, 187-ish level, like pretty much all the way down to here, like 188, kind of 185 to 188 being the bottom level, and then this kind of like up here 211 to as high as 215, 216 being the top level. But we're essentially just zigzagging in this congestion zone, but it's kind of zigzagging less and less, right? This is the peak zigzag right here from here to here, and then you can see it's not really zigzagging as much, right? The range of motion, at least, and more importantly, it is actually zigzagging more to the downside. Like it arguably made a lower low here and a higher low here, right? So one all the way down here, one all the way up here, kind of got tight, and then it finally made a lower low. And then in theory right here, this could have been a lower high as well. So that's also not very good. That's definitely showing a little bit of weakness, that the bulls have finally, kind of potentially ran out of steam, which again is not too surprising. I don't want to make it sound like it's a bad thing, right? Of course, this is after a pretty significant run for Tesla, right? So it's not completely surprising. It's not a bad thing. And again, I want to make it very clear. I know I always sound like a bear, at least for now, but if we do get this pullback down to around this level of, like, let's say 160 to as low as this gap fill of 145, I want to make it very clear, guys, that's not a bad thing for the bulls. That is a very healthy retracement for the bulls. The bulls do want to see something like this. You don't want to see a move just sporadically move up like this. It's not a healthy move. You want to see a retracement down somewhere to around these levels, but most importantly, the bulls want to see it hold around this level, and if it does, that to me spells that the next move to the upside is going to be phenomenal. Like, it's going to make this one look like a joke. But that's assuming we come down here, and that's assuming we also hold around this level. Very important, which again, easiest way to do this, guys, just use the Fibonacci. You can quite literally do this yourself from the swing low to the swing high. In this case, because, you know, I think that it is going to be a reversal. It is a reversal in the bullish trend because we broke the 200 high and we arguably set a higher swing high. As long as we come down to one of these retracement levels, in this case being, you know, around the 0.5, maybe even as low as the 0.6 at 146, pretty much a gap fill, like I said, of 145, you know, that to me is a bullish retracement. That is a bullish bounce, and that, again, assuming it holds, is good. That is just a phenomenal, that is a good correction. That is what you want to see, and I personally think that that will happen. And if I had to guess right now, you know, if and when it does happen, and let's say we kind of, you know, make our way down like this or something like that, right, I do believe that, you know, by the time we get somewhere to around here, I do think that the RSI should be somewhere like this maybe already, and then by the time I get here, the RSI should be doing something like this, making higher lows while the stock is making lower lows, and we can start slowly seeing a bullish divergence start to form, similar to what's happening here. As we kept going up, the RSI kept going down, just a flip, of course, right? And that's kind of what I'm going to be also waiting for, and I do think will happen. That's kind of what I'm personally foreseeing out within the next, maybe let's say like 3 months or something like that, maybe less. You never know in this market. This market is pretty damn fast and volatile. Sometimes it could even be as low as 1 month. You never really know with this market sometimes, but that's more or less the move I am personally foreseeing and I am projecting. But yeah, those are the key levels, guys, that I'm, you know, watching for, that I'm waiting for. That's the thing I'm seeing right now. I do think it's still more bearish than bullish. I do think there is still bullish, you know, theories, if you will, out there that are plausible, you know, that, you know, there is still potential that this is just maybe a bull flag or something like that, right? But I definitely think it's less likely. That's all it is. But, you know, again, those are the key levels. If the bulls want to see essentially 205 break once again, and the bears essentially want to see, at the very least, like this kind of 187, 185 start to crack, and that could be pretty bad for the bulls, pretty good for the bears. But that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, guys. See you tomorrow. Peace.